Hello, my name is Barry Matsushita, and the topic I'll be discussing today is the effect of inflation on farm inputs in California. So the first question we have to ask is, how is inflation affecting agriculture? And one of the big things we'll discuss is its effect on rising input costs such as seeds, fertilizers, machinery, fuel, chemicals, water, labor, etc. And these increased production expenses will decrease profit margins, and combined with factors like lower commodity price and higher interest rates, which are also correlated with inflation rates, it could lead to increased financial strains on farmers. And this could also lead to a decrease in lending activity towards these agricultural operations. And it would just limit the growth of the agricultural sector. And this chart just looks at the history of inflation on farm inputs. And so we have the inflation adjusted production expenses and the nominal production expenses. And as we can see from the nominal production expenses, from the 1970s up until 2024, there's been a gradual increase, but in the last about 15 years, it's taken off even more so. And if we look at the inflation adjusted production expenses, it actually doesn't fluctuate as much as the nominal production expenses, except for once again in the last 15 years because expenses are increasing, and in the 1980s when we had the farm crisis. And so this slide just takes a look at inflation and farm production expenses and some of the major farm inputs. And as we can see, fertilizers, interest expenses, and pesticides have had the greatest increases in inflation percentages in the past 3 years because this chart evaluates the years 2020 to 2023. And we actually hit record high expenses in 2022 because of high fertilizer costs. And this could be responsible for these high percentages, but we are on the decline, although we are still above the acceptable rates or the annual acceptable rates of inflation for certain inputs like fertilizers, pesticides, fuel, and oil, although they are decreasing. And so the economic effects of inflation are higher input costs, the availability and affordability of credit, and higher interest rates are typically associated with inflation, making it more difficult for farmers to finance their operations, which limits their ability to invest in new equipment, expand their operation, and explore new innovative techniques because there's less risk tolerance. And market volatility can also be affected by inflation, just by lower commodity prices, or it could just be global events that are affecting the market. And so some government policies and programs that are in place right now to battle inflation is the Inflation Reduction Act, which was passed in 2022. And it guarantees $40 billion for agriculture, forestry, and rural development. And 19.5 billion of that money is for agricultural conservation efforts. And this is achieved through programs like the Agricultural Conservation Easement Program, the Conservation Stewardship Program, Environmental Quality Incentives Program, and Regional Conservation Partnership Program. All of these are designed to help farmers adopt more sustainable land practices. And the debt relief for loans administered by the Farm Service Agencies for undeserved farmers is 3.1 billion. So that's also just a nice little financial relief that is provided by the government. And the Inflation Reduction Act also provides money for Western drought mitigation and to provide more renewable energy sources. And so some management recommendations could be to analyze operation input costs just to identify possible cost saving opportunities and maybe change suppliers and compare suppliers to see which offer the best prices and invest in modern technology. And although the initial cost of capital is high, the results of long-term saving can result in increased efficiency, reduced labor cost, and minimization of resource inputs. And another management recommendation could be to collaborate and share resources, which could be to collectively buy inputs with other farmers or neighboring farmers to get a cheaper price, or share equipment and machinery with other farmers to lower the cost of ownership, and collaborate with colleges and universities, which can they can provide experience, expertise, training, and they might even have machinery and the other equipment you can use. And so to conclude, overall, inflation greatly affects the agricultural production landscape through more than just increasing cost of input. However, the rising cost of input is one of the main contributing factors directly correlated to inflation, which is placing financial strain on California farmers. The production expense of agriculture is gradually increasing, and this, combined with other factors such as low commodity price and inflated interest rates, will severely affect the profit margins of farm operations, limiting the growth and efficiency of the industry. Farmers will need to take advantage of new management practices, and the government may need to play a greater role in supporting the industry, especially now as inflation percentages are still exceeding their acceptable rates.